Hello, Plant Animal Science. I'm here to talk to you about one of my favorite units, and I wish we were together to talk about this, but we've done a lot of cool labs with this. But anyways, we're going to be talking about dairy and the dairy industry. So a few fun facts about milk. It takes about 10 pounds of milk to make only 1 pound of cheese. That's a lot of milk in order to make 1 pound of cheese. It takes about 21 pounds of milk to make a pound of butter. It takes about 12 pounds of milk to make a single gallon of ice cream. And milk is unique because no other beverage in the world contains as many natural nutrients. And 1 cup of milk is about 160 calories. So those are just some fun facts about that. Alright, so the dairy industry. Dairy is the milk and all the milk products. So it's that industry, and usually there are dairy cows. There's a certain breeds that we use for the dairy industry, and we'll talk about those. But a few things about dairy cows: that dairy cows must give birth to a calf to produce milk. And they produce for about 10 months, and then they do something called drying up, and then that's when they need to have a new calf in order to refresh their system in order to produce more milk. Dairies, they usually milk between 2 and 3 times a day. Cows are milked for about 4 to 7 years. After that, their production goes really low and they're not as efficient. They produce about 6 to 7 gallons of milk per day. It's a ton of milk. And then after cows retire, they are sent to a slaughterhouse, and usually their meat is used for hamburger. Because they're not old enough, they're too old to have the specialty cuts like you would see in the grocery store. So, where do baby calves go? Well, I'm here to talk about that. Females, which are heifers, are usually kept as replacements. So they'll go on to be a mom and they will be a milk producer in the future. They will be fed milk replacer, usually in order to, instead of the actual milk. And then male calves, which are bulls, they're usually sold off and processed for veal meat. This actually, this PowerPoint's a little bit older. This is not so much the case anymore, though you might see this in some cultures. But nowadays in the United States, we raise those male calves up to like market weight. So when they're a lot older, and we use them actually in the meat industry when they're older. So this trend usually is not as popular nowadays. Alright, so a few dairy breeds. We have Holsteins, Brown Swiss, Jersey, Guernsey, and Ayrshire. Now these breeds, we will have a little fun activity with the breeds later, but this is what a Holstein looks like. That's your traditional black and white. This is the highest producing one of the breeds and the most popular in the industry. We have the Brown Swiss, a beautiful brown color. The Ayrshire, beautiful red spots like the Holstein. Guernsey, kind of a blonde spotted animal. And the Jersey. Now, dairy in California is the number one agriculture commodity. There are about 1,700 dairies in California. Tulare, which is in the Central Valley, is the highest producing county in the state. And milk is Riverside's top ag commodity as well. There's actually a lot of dairies in our own county. So the milking process we'll talk about, and I have a really cool video that you should have watched in your warm-up. But cows, they're usually in a holding pen where they're rinsed off and they get a health check, make sure they're walking right. And then the cows enter what's called the parlor, and they're given an iodine dip, which means it's kind of a way to clean the udder before it is milked. Each step, so step 3, each quarter is primed by hand milking. So they'll do a stream of milk. They'll kind of there'll be a plug, and it kind of stimulates the milk letdown. Also gets any debris or older, not so good milk in that teat that's been in the base of the teat for the day. Kind of gives a nice fresh start. And then the claw is what's called the claw is attached to the udder, and it's actually an automatic milking system. And it actually, the milk will flow through the claw, and it goes to cooling tanks after that. And this doesn't hurt the animals. It's actually very satisfying. It's a relief. The milk does get a lot. The pressure inside the udder is painful, and the cows do tend to want to be milked, and they will come voluntarily to the barn, and it's something that they look forward to twice a day. So every claw has a flow sensor, and they can tell when the udder is empty, so it'll actually automatically drop when the milk when they're done milking. And then they once it doesn't hit the ground, and they detach, and then the udder is checked for make sure it's healthy. Then it's dipped in iodine again, make sure that it's clean, and then it goes back out to pasture, to a pen for the day, to go eat lots of food and make more milk. So the milk process, like the storage and how it gets to a gallon into our refrigerator. So the storage, it's sent through pipes, and it gets filtered, and this is the raw milk holding tank, and it's these huge tanks, and the milk is cooled to about 34 to 39 degrees, and no more at 48 hours. And then the milk is then transported in trucks like this, and it goes to a processing plant where it is homogenized and pasteurized and packaged, and sent to a grocery store like that you are familiar with. Now, these two processes that happen, there's pasteurization. So what it does, it's heating up the milk at about 160 degrees for about 15 to 20 seconds. Then it cools it down straight back down to 35 degrees. What this is doing, it's killing bacteria that might be in the milk, and it keeps the good, but it's killing the bad stuff. There's trends of eating or drinking raw milk, but in order to sell a safe product, we have to be able to pasteurize it. Then we have homogenization. You'll see both these terms on your milk jug. So next time you have a jug of milk, check for these two things. They should be on it. Now, this is pushing the milk at a high pressure through a screen, and what it's doing is it's making the fat molecule attached to the protein. So usually milk will separate. You'll have the cream on the top and then the milk on the bottom. Now, putting it through this homogenization practice, what it's doing, it's forcing the two molecules to stay together. So that's what happens. Usually it's either it's put through that screen or it's spun really quickly. So things that we make with dairy, we of course have milk, maybe for your cereal or for baking, but we also make yogurt, cheese, ice cream, sour cream, and butter. So what is milk made from? 87% of it is actually water. It's a huge part of it. There's about 4% of fats, and then 8.8% of lactose, which is a milk sugar. It's a type of sugar. This is a protein, but this also plays a part in your immune factors, and it has high vitamin and mineral content in this area. So we'll kind of we won't focus too much on the parts this week, but this is the parts of the dairy cow, and you can see it's very similar to those other parts that you might have seen in other animals. So we have the pole, throat, mammary gland, you have the udder, pasterns, dew claw, hock, flank, all of those different parts. Again, you might be familiar with it, but not something that we're going to really focus on this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will post this PowerPoint so you can go through it on your own time, or you can watch this video as I talk through it. But make sure you complete your notes. There's an optional lab if you want to make butter. There's a video on how to make butter, and you can make it at home. If we were in class, we would be making butter and eating it in class if we wanted to. But you have the option to do so. All you need is heavy cream and a mason jar. That's it. Otherwise, the video tells you all about it. If you do end up making butter, take a picture of yourself eating it, and take a picture of yourself shaking it, and doing the process, and I will give you some extra credit points. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this 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 assignment. I'll see you in the next video.